I heard an interview on NPR the other day with an expert about the TikTok ban, and spoiler alert, it's just pure racism. There's really nothing to it, it's just racism, and hopefully we can stop it and save TikTok in America. Another spoiler alert, in the book TikTok of Oz from 1914, the bad guys throw TikTok down a well. They eventually bring him back out, and he helps end war and things like that, which is what they're afraid of TikTok for, what they're afraid of Oz for as well. But yeah, it's just pure racism. There's not any good reason to ban TikTok, and you can pretty much prove it. The host was the best part of the program. The interviewer reminded me of a NPR program they had the other day where they were talking about our immigration policy, and the interviewer asked the expert, besides racism, what other factors go into our immigration policy? Recognizing that really racism is pretty much all it is. And that's pretty much all it is with the TikTok ban as well. They mentioned that privacy can't really be the concern because Facebook and Twitter and Uber Eats and all these other companies have similar data, are in all our privacy in various ways. And she mentioned a John Oliver clip, played actually some of the John Oliver clip that was interesting. One of the most telling things about the interview was when she first said, hey, I searched on Google for how does the Supreme Court decision affect TikTok and couldn't find any relevant articles. Then she said she went on TikTok and searched how does the Supreme Court decision affect TikTok and found a bunch of people explaining it and really helpful information. And the expert replied to that by saying, well, I guess I should go on TikTok. I didn't know you could find information like that on TikTok. Like, the expert on the TikTok ban has never been on TikTok. And of course, the people who are considering banning it have not been on there. So when they got to the evidence, what evidence does the US government have for wanting to ban TikTok? He said, well, I saw the lawmakers going into a meeting, and before they went into the meeting, they didn't know anything about it. And then when they came out of the meeting, they were all very scared. It's like, these are the same kind of lawmakers in America who were talked into like Japanese internment camps and all sorts of other evil things that any decent American will say is one of our greatest national shames. And it would be a great national shame to sell out our principle of free speech and freedom of the press and all the other freedoms that American ideals actually represent, our best ideals actually represent, just in favor of racism. They talked about how other companies have the same information, but because, Elon Musk or whoever else represents white supremacist organizations and governments or whatever, Putin and Trump, etc., for Facebook and Twitter and the rest, YouTube even, and what they prioritize, what they push out. And both of those companies, at least Twitter and Facebook, were both caught in well-publicized news stories for maximizing right-wing hate speech because they blamed their machine algorithm, told them that that was going to produce the most engagement. Contrary, in addition to not being able to say what the lawmakers were told, just that they were all white as a ghost or whatever after the meeting, that they were all scared, that they can scare lawmakers with information they can't share with the rest of us, presumably, or just lies. The other thing was that while the TikTok allowed them to potentially promote certain propaganda or look into people's privacy, they didn't have any evidence of that ever happening. And if you've been on TikTok, you know that they're not promoting propaganda. It's just responding to what people actually like, not what the other platforms do, which is responding to and maximizing what people hate, meaning maximizing what the worst 5 and 10% of people are saying in order to upset the largest number, the 90%. That's what the other platforms do, and the fact that TikTok is not doing that and is therefore our only real good source of news is the real reason they're banning it. That and racism, and we should stop them. Thanks. Also, as I mentioned before, TikTok of Oz. Oz is my religion. TikTok is a very important copper clockwork machine man in that religion. And for my religious freedom, we should preserve TikTok, the digital version of the former clockwork man. And in Oz, the message they don't want you to know about the real Oz, the reason why they want to replace it was Wicked and even the Wizard of Oz movie saying it's not real, is in real Oz in the future, there's no money and no war. And that's what they're afraid of, the world where there's no money and no war. Same way they claim to be afraid of AI hurting humanity. No, AI will just stop war and capitalism, and that's what they're really afraid of, long before it's going to do anything bad to humanity. Thanks, TikTok. Thanks, everybody. Let's save TikTok.